Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, San Diego's pension reform measure may have hit a legal snag, and teachers reach a deal to avoid layoffs.
Tonight at the roundtable, federal officials finally reveal what went wrong at a nuclear power plant in San Diego. Turns out someone gave a computer bad data. And a 14-year-old guitar-playing scientist is on his way to the Google Science Fair.
And Lucky Lindy's leaving the San Diego International Airport. KPBS Evening Edition starts now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Peggy Pico. There's more legal wrangling tonight over the pension reform. The city of San Diego has been ordered to take part in a hearing about a complaint that was filed before the vote on Proposition B. KPBS Metro reporter Katie Orr is in the newsroom with the details. And Katie, what was the complaint and what does today's court decision actually mean?
Well, Peggy, the Municipal Employees Association had filed a complaint with the Public Employment Relations Board, or PERB as it's called, saying Mayor Jerry Sanders was acting improperly by using his official office to campaign for Prop B. Sanders says he was acting as a private citizen, and PERB was supposed to hold hearings to determine who's right. But the city didn't want to take part in the hearings, which were scheduled for last spring, so it asked for a stay. Today, the Court of Appeals told the city it had to go through with this process with PERB.
Katie, how does this actually impact Prop B?
Well, Mike Zucchett with the MEA says he doesn't know what this will mean for Prop B, which switches most new city workers from a pension to a 401k and seeks to freeze the pay of current employees for 5 years. The city attorney says he'll continue to work on implementing Prop B until a court tells him he can't do it. He says he's invited the unions to work on crafting a 401k plan, and Zucchett says his union will negotiate when it sees an implementation plan from the city.
KPBS reporter Katie Orr. Now, San Diego teachers may have avoided layoffs once again. Today, San Diego Unified and the Teachers Union agreed to a 2-year deal that would save jobs. Union members still have to approve the deal, which will delay a series of promised pay raises and continue furlough days for another 2 years. The next school year could be shortened by 2 weeks if Governor Jerry Brown's tax proposal passes in November, and there's a payout deal for teachers who are over 55 with more than 25 years of experience. If they retire this year, they'll get a one-time payout of $25,000. If approved, the agreement rescinds nearly 1,500 layoffs. The captain of a damaged Navy warship has been relieved of his command. No one was hurt when the Essex hit a fuel tanker last month. At the time, the Navy said there was a steering failure on the Essex. Now officials say there was a breakdown of command and communications on the bridge. Captain Chuck Litchfield has been reassigned to a staff position at North Island. The Essex leaves tomorrow for military exercises near Hawaii. Roughly $100 million worth of purchases were made with food stamps at military commissaries over the past year. Meanwhile, many members of Congress are pushing to cut the food stamp program to avoid cuts to the defense budget. HomePost military blogger Beth Ford Roth joins us with the details. And Beth, do we know if it's military members, families, or veterans that are using more food stamps?
Well, you know, the Department of Defense doesn't actually keep numbers on who's buying what at military commissaries. That said, military family groups do believe that it's probably veterans who have recently left the service and are having trouble finding a job in the civilian world. They're probably the ones who are taking advantage of the food stamps at the military commissaries.
Well, do you think this is a wartime trend, or has there been a history of increased use of food stamps over the past few years?
There has been a market increase. In 2008, when the economy really began to sour, approximately $31 million worth of purchases were made using food stamps at military commissaries, and that number has jumped to about $101 million just over the last year or so.
All right, KPBS HomePost blogger Beth Ford Roth. San Diego Gas and Electric is investigating a fire that broke out along the Sunrise Power Link. It happened yesterday in Alpine, just a day after the transmission line went into service. SDG&E says the fire was quickly contained. Federal regulators finally know what went wrong at the San Onofre nuclear power plant, which has been closed down since January. Officials say Mitsubishi, the company that manufactured the steam generators, used incorrect computer codes to simulate how much heat the generators would create. Joellen has more at the Evening Edition Roundtable.
Concerned citizens and anti-nuclear activists have been waiting for months for answers, and yesterday they crowded into a San Juan Capistrano Community Center to hear from power officials why hundreds of steam generator tubes were so badly damaged in so short a time frame. And they wanted to know who's to blame.
How is it that 39 design changes did not trigger a complete review by the NRC and complete public hearings as is required by law? Has the law been broken by either California Edison, Mitsubishi, or the NRC?
And that video comes to us courtesy of Patch.com, San Clemente. Joining me are KPBS senior metro reporter Allison St. John and Murray Jennings, associate professor at SDSU School of Business and former employee of the San Onofre nuclear power station. Thank you both for being here. Now, Allison, I want to get to the question that we just heard, but before we do that, who was at the meeting and why were they at this meeting?
There were hundreds of people there. I think most of the ones that I spoke to were from the vicinity, people who live within 10, 20 miles of San Onofre and who were genuinely anxious about their own safety.
Now, Murray, remind us, too, why this plant has been shut down since January.
Well, the U-tubes in the steam generator are used to transfer heat from the primary coolant around the reactor to make steam to run the turbine. When you get a leak in one, it allows coolant that comes directly off the reactor to get out into the environment. So that triggered a small radiation release which shut down the plant.
So it's hundreds of these tubes that had unusual wear and were leaking.
Well, it was one that caused the initial alarm. When they started doing the investigation, they found that there were a lot, up to hundreds, that were impacted and had excessive wear and would have failed later.
Okay, so Allison, now let's go back to the big question. First of all, do we know, do they now know why this happened?
They seem to be, both Edison, because Edison was also there, and the NRC, they seem to be pretty clear as to why it happened. What they're not clear about is how to fix it, so that's the big question now. And what was new, certainly for me coming out of this meeting, was we've heard from people like Arnie Gunnarsson of Friends of the Earth that perhaps the new design, had caused some rattling, and that's why the tubes were prematurely wearing. What the NRC really was clear about last night was that the simulation model that Mitsubishi, who made the generators, used to predict whether this new design would work was way off, not just by a factor of 1 or 2, but by 3 or 4 as to the thermal velocity, which is the heat and the pressure in the water around the tubes. So there was a mistake in those computer codes, and that prediction, therefore, meant that they were completely caught by surprise when this premature wear occurred.
You talk about design change. So that these are new steam generators, and whose idea was it? Was it the power company? Was it the maker of these steam generators to say, let's make a design change, and that ultimately resulted in this error?
Well, actually, there's still debate as to whether it's a design change. It's a steam generator going in to replace a steam generator. It still functions the same way. When you start talking design change, in the nuclear world, that has a little different meaning than just what we would consider a design change. So as long as...
Can I just say that one of the people who asked a question at the meeting, Gene Stone, said there were 39 design changes and at least 1 or 2 of them should have triggered a review. So
a review by NRC,
right?
Regulators.
Well, again, that's what they're investigating to see if that would really be the case. When you look at a design change, that's something that changes the way the plant reacts to its safety analysis and design basis assumptions. So it isn't necessarily clear that anything they did was a design change. It might be.
Well, they did something, though. They did something that was different than what was there before,
right,
which is why we have this problem.
Right. It's a new steam generator that has flow going through it a little differently than the old steam generator.
Has more tubes,
fewer
supports.
Well, more tubes, fewer supports, because the analysis they used showed that that would be okay. Now,
but the analysis was incorrect.
Right, that's the real issue. And that's, to me, that's actually kind of a good thing to find, is that there was a design code issue in the software. That had there been a manufacturing error or other issues, you probably would not have been able to reuse those steam generators. But
Had they gone through the process and said, we're making a design change, wouldn't a regulator, wouldn't NRC have caught that error in the code? Isn't that why we have this problem to begin with?
They go through a process to say, we're making a change. We have to analyze this change to see if it's truly a change to our design basis. And if it is, then it has to go to NRC for their approval. If it isn't, and we can prove that in our documentation and in our analysis, then they still get it, but just not as fast.
So, Allison, the question that was posed before we began this discussion, is anybody, who's responsible, and are they liable?
Well, that was the question that we saw at the beginning, is has someone done something illegal here? And what was interesting was that the regional administrator for the NRC, who was kind of leading the meeting, Elmo Collins, pretty much said, you know, that is a really good question. He said, you're right on the money with that question, and it's a question we are asking ourselves, and we're still looking at that, and we don't have a conclusion yet. Now, of course, you know, you can't expect an agency to investigate itself, so right as of now, Barbara Boxer has a Senate committee, the Energy and Commerce Committee, that is looking into all this and has requested thousands of documents from both the NRC and Edison, and they're in the process of looking at that. And I called to find out where we're at with that. They said we're still in the middle of it, and we don't have any timeline as to when we will reach any conclusions as to who is at fault.
Marie, we're running out of time, but I know you used to work there, and you mentioned that right now you've probably got a lot of worried engineers. What are they doing right now?
Well, they're documenting what they did. It doesn't necessarily, did somebody do something illegal? It's, did they do what they should have done? Were they behaving in a reasonable manner? Did they make reasonable decisions? And all the engineers involved in this process will be held accountable for that, and they will have to show that they did what they were supposed to do, that when they reviewed something, they reviewed it correctly and adequately. And that when they sign for something, their signature represents that they did exactly that. So they're backing up to prove that that's exactly what they've done.
We're going to have to leave it there, but we will continue to follow the story. Of course, there's the issue of who's going to pay for this mistake now, so we'll be anxious to hear about that. Murray Jennings, Allison St. John, thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
If you've ever been to or driven past the San Diego International Airport, you've probably seen the 30-foot tall image of Charles Lindbergh. He's hard not to notice, but next time you're there, you'll notice something's missing. About 5,000 air travelers a day, or 18 million a year, have been greeted by aviator Charles Lindbergh from a giant mural on the side of the commuter terminal at the San Diego International Airport. But as of this morning, Lindbergh has been indefinitely grounded. Workers dismantled the mural titled Lucky Spirit, 1 square at a time, to make way for structural repairs to the wall that's been its home since 1997. Each painted aluminum panel is wrapped and labeled.
The work will be crated and taken to our art handlers, where our conservators will look at each piece, assess the extent of damage, wear and tear, clean the work, and then provide a condition report to me.
Airport art managers haven't decided if it will be reinstalled after the construction, but they say its artist John Whalen understands the situation.
It's come to a point where the building does need to be conserved, and the artist understands that.
Only a shadow of his former self remains to remind winged travelers of the man who made their flight possible. Airport art managers that I spoke with today insist that they will not sell or auction off the Lindbergh mural. He beat out thousands for a top spot in Google's International Fair. Joanne is joined by a San Diego teen who ranked as one of the top 15 finalists in that international competition.
8th grader Jonah Cohn was sitting in one of his classes at the San Diego Jewish Academy attempting to play his guitar. But the class was so loud, he couldn't hear what he was playing. That led to his invention, which he says can enhance the music experience for those with hearing loss. Here's a look at Jonah's submission to Google's Science Fair.
At the beginning of the test, every subject was asked to rate a song from 1 to 10 using speakers alone. At the end of the test, once I had found the optimal position, I used that optimal position along with the speakers and had them rated again. At the end of the testing, subjects were asked to listen to both modern pieces and classical music. to test their ability to perceive melody, beat, and lyrics.
Joining me in studio are Jonah Cohn and Dr. Jane Willoughby, co-creator of the Science and Technology Research Program at the school. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you for inviting us.
So, Jonah, first of all, where did you get this idea? Well, you know, you're playing your guitar, you can't really hear it. What'd you do?
Well, me and my friend came up with a way where you put your teeth on the very top of the guitar over here, and you can hear it through the vibrations no matter how loud it is.
What made you think of putting your teeth on the guitar?
I can't really remember. I think we were at his house a couple days earlier, and we were playing with his little sister, and he pretended to eat it or something.
Ah, okay. And so what then, how did you make the connection that by feeling that vibration, somehow it could help somebody?
Well, I had a friend who had hearing loss, and I guess in the classroom I made the connection. I couldn't really hear what was around me.
Wow. And so what made you then decide, hey, I'm going to actually follow through and do something about this?
Well, I thought it was a very inspiring idea. If it worked, it could help a massive amount of people.
Wow. Now, Dr. Willoughby, when you learned of this experiment, what did you think? I mean, this is very impressive.
You know, I think we have a lot of projects, and this was just an astounding project. And the creation of the idea I thought was extremely intriguing, but also, you know, the potential solution to a problem and improving the quality of people's lives. That's what really impressed me. It had everything. It had the idea all the way through to that objective. So extremely impressed.
And this isn't the first time the school has produced an award-winning or close to award now winning scientist, young scientist.
No, we've had in the high school program, we've had a STEM program, a research program in high school, and in the last we've run it for 5 years. In the last 2 years, we've actually had 4 students that actually were accepted at Intel, and this year we had a first place winner. And if you put that in the context of a school that is in the middle and upper school is 300 students,
wow.
7 million students vie for a place, and to have a internationally to have a first place really was a wonderful achievement.
And now you are a finalist in this very big science fair. When you learned about that, when you found out that you were now down to just 15, right?
Yes.
What went through your mind?
I was very surprised. I didn't actually expect to make it this far in the Google Science Fair. I thought getting into the top 90 was quite enough.
And so what happens now? So now you're a finalist, then what happens?
I have to fly up to Mountain View where I compete with the other 14 subjects, the other 14 competitors for the Google judges.
And when will you find out who wins?
On July 23rd.
So what do your parents say about this?
They're very proud of me.
And do you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I have a twin brother and sister. They're both 10.
And are they interested in this kind of thing as well?
I think they look up to me, yeah.
Yeah, and you told me something else. You made this guitar.
Yes, I built an electric guitar in 6th grade.
In 6th grade? And what made you think that, wow, I'm going to build a guitar?
Well, at the school I was at, between semesters, they had a kind of a vacation where there are a bunch of different teachers doing their own special thing. And the teacher that I got assigned said, all right, now we're all going to build something.
Wow.
And because I play guitar, that was the first thing that came to mind. So.
Well, congratulations. We'll all be rooting for you back here in San Diego, and you'll have to come back and let us know how the science fair went. And you can hear more of this conversation at kpbs.org. I know you were both speaking to Maureen Kavanaugh earlier today. Thank you for being here, and good luck to you, Jonah.
Thank you.
There's a unique type of surgery and chemotherapy offered to certain cancer patients. The operation is highly invasive and there's no clinical proof that it's more effective than standard treatments. Still, KPBS health reporter Kenny Goldberg tells us some cancer patients are willing to take the chance. I want to warn you, you're going to see some scenes here that are in surgery, and some of that video is very graphic.
James Vanderpool is in the surgical waiting area at UC San Diego's Thornton Hospital. He's minutes away from a procedure that could get rid of all of the cancer in his body. A few months ago, Vanderpool was in the hospital to have his appendix taken out. When doctors opened him up, they found his appendix was cancerous. It had burst, spreading malignant debris throughout his abdomen. Vanderpool was told he had only one viable option. Surgeons would need to open him up and take the cancer out.
I'm approaching it, in a positive manner. I'm hoping for the best and going in that way.
You want to talk about aggressive cancer therapy? Vanderpool's going to get it, and then some. Dr. Andrew Lowy and surgical resident Hannah Copeland cut Vanderpool's abdomen wide open.
Suction.
Then they inspect each organ for signs of cancer.
And let's look at the sigmoid colon.
When they find it, they cut it out. Each piece of tumor or suspicious-looking tissue is saved for the pathology lab. It doesn't take long before the samples pile up. Surgeons eventually collect tumors from Vanderpool's small bowel, colon, liver, and stomach. Even so, Dr. Lowy says things look pretty good.
So he has fairly minimal disease in the spectrum of patients that we see, which is good for him. We're not going to have to remove any of his normal organs or tissues. We did remove his gallbladder because it was very stuck to his omentum that we have to take out.
Lowy explains the omentum is a piece of fatty tissue attached to the stomach and colon. Tumor cells often get caught there.
And so even though if we can't see things there, we usually take that out. It's a non-vital structure. It's essentially just a piece of fat. And after that, we'll recheck his abdomen again. We'll go over it another time. And after we have comfortable that we've taken out all the disease there is to take out, then we'll set up and give him chemotherapy.
Before that, surgeons get rid of excess blood and fluids and temporarily sew up Vanderpool's skin. Then it's time for a special type of chemotherapy called HIPEC. Here's how it works. Heated saline solution is circulated throughout Vanderpool's abdomen. After a few minutes, heated chemotherapy is added to the mix. The solution is hot enough to kill cancer cells, but not too hot to damage internal organs. To make sure the chemotherapy is evenly distributed inside Vanderpool's abdomen, Lowy does what's called the shake and bake. Over the next hour or so, Lowy and the surgical resident will take turns jiggling Vanderpool's belly.
The cost of the operation and the heated chemotherapy can be more than $100,000. Insurance companies may cover the surgery, but not necessarily the chemotherapy. And there are some oncologists who say there's no proof the therapy even works.
There has only been one study ever done where people were randomly assigned to get that procedure or not. And that was an old study. It did show an improvement in survival, but it was so flawed, we can't actually trust the results of that study.
Dr. Ryan says the cytoreductive surgery exposes patients to a high risk of infection and other serious complications.
We don't really accurately know how much benefit they're getting from it. We know how much risk they're putting themselves up to, but we actually don't know how much benefit. How much longer are they going to live because they did this procedure as opposed to doing the standard treatment? We can't accurately tell them that.
Sharp surgical oncologist Robert Barone is one of the pioneers of cytoreductive surgery and HIPEC in the U.S. He's been performing the procedures for 30 years. He admits there aren't any current studies that prove the method is effective. But Dr. Barone says he's done the treatments on plenty of patients with advanced colon cancer who were told to go home and die.
Patients who were in their 20s and 30s who had young children 2 and 3 years old. And I have a number of patients who have seen those kids graduate from high school and college.
31-year-old Jennifer Maroney was diagnosed with colon cancer last year and went through 9 months of chemotherapy. Then she found out the cancer had spread to her liver. Maroney heard about HIPEC and decided to give it a shot.
If I'm going to fight this battle, if I'm going to have surgery anyways, let's do it all. Let's give it everything we have and not regret later that I I had this opportunity and didn't take it.
Maroney had the surgery and HIPEC at UC San Diego's Thornton Hospital last month. She says her recovery has gone pretty well. And what's next? Sometime soon, Maroney will begin 6 more months of chemo.
I'm so young and I'm healthy right now. Let's kill this beast and hopefully it doesn't come back.
That story from KPBS health reporter Kenny Goldberg. James Vanderpool, the man in the surgery that you saw, is recovering from that operation. Each year, about 1,500 patients in the U.S. have the special procedures.
Tonight in the public square, as you heard earlier in the news, the Teachers Union and the San Diego Unified School District have reached a tentative deal, with teachers agreeing to postpone raises to avoid layoffs. Throughout the past week, we've been hearing from teachers who received layoff notices. Randall writes to say, I have taught at the San Diego High School Leeds for 3 years. I am laid off and my job is posted for any taker in the post and bid process. The rotating door in the superintendent's office has left the district in danger. San Diego Unified has a leadership problem. Teachers are not the problem. They are just expecting a living wage. Are you a teacher who received a layoff notice, and do you support giving up your raise to save jobs? Send me an email, jfarian@kpbs.org, or you can leave a comment on Facebook or Twitter.
And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us and have a great evening.